Hello, thank you for tuning in to this week's section of reads. This should be on the YouTube channel, James13 Wicca, in case you're seeing it somewhere else. The dice and decks I'm using are listed below. Other than that, if you'd like a direct reading from me, go ahead, shoot me an email, james4astral@gmail.com, james the number 4, astral@gmail.com. If you're interested in the donation information, that's also below. Other than that, let's get into your selection. Hello, Scorpio. Thank you very much for tuning into this week's read. These readings are valid for whenever you come to them. That being said, what do we have for Scorpio? Ba, 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 ba. I don't know where. Okay. Ooh. Okay, hold on. Before we get too excited, let's get them all out, right? Okay. What is happening? What is happening? No, we want this bottom card too. Strength. Well, I always think that, I always think of Scorpio as very strong anyway. I don't know, I just always have. Like, very secretive too, I know. But, like, it's a very, like, people don't mess with Scorpio when they really start feeling the Scorpio energy, in my opinion. Once you really understand what you're dealing with, people don't usually push it too much with Scorpio, in my opinion. I'm a Pisces, so what do I know? But whatever this situation is, they're like, you got what it takes to make this happen. And this might be one of those things where the situation is a little awkward, and maybe you need to just remember that every now and then, that you are very strong and you've done a lot in your life where you've made it through things that other people could not have. That's part of Scorpio's strength. You make it through things, you feel through things, you actually work through things that a lot of people have to tap out. Some people just flat out go numb or abandon a situation because they can't do it. And I feel like Scorpio sees it through on your terms. Very strong energy. Whatever's going on right now, I feel like, I want to be careful how I say this. I had to be a part of it. I keep feeling like I had to be a part of it. Because there was too much I was not willing to lose. Is it Eight of Swords? Yeah, well, which the Eight of Swords tends to go along the lines of, like, it feels like a trap, but it wasn't. It's almost like it felt like I had to do, or this is what I'm stuck with, but the truth is there are ways out. Whatever's going on in this situation, I do feel like I was not willing to lose certain things, so I did what I had to do because of, like, what was possibly going to be lost if I didn't. And did you technically have to? No. Were you not willing to lose certain things, so that's why you did and felt like you had to? I feel like that's more fitting. Take it with a grain of salt. You decide what's right. I do feel like your heart was in it. Like, Scorpio is a very strong feeling energy. So whatever it was, you emotionally were invested. It's kind of like, I can't just walk away and be okay with it. It's not gonna work that way for me. You have done a lot to try to stabilize the situation. Okay. Now, that's stability on your terms. Why are we saying it that way? Because it's not like, everything has to be in a prim, proper, everything in its place type of thing. It's more like certain things have to be done, certain things have to be taken care of. Somebody has to do this, somebody has to do that. Maybe it's not me doing it, but I'm going to make sure somebody does it type of thing. Like, the day might not go the same every day in the sense of, like, who does what, but, like, it's like every morning we're going to make sure that breakfast is on the table. Every evening we're going to make sure that, like, a healthy meal is going to be on the table, just to make it simple, just to make it really, like, basically those things. Like, it may not be you doing it every day, and it may not be the same thing we're having, but, maybe trying this, trying that. It may be like breakfast is typically at 7, but sometimes it's at 7:30, sometimes it's at 6, sometimes it's at 5. Same thing with dinner. Sometimes that's at different times, or sometimes we're doing it on the go, sometimes we're sitting down at the table, but we're making sure it happens, that type of thing. Um, you're doing it on your terms. You're creating as much stability as you can. Um, I do feel like there's a lot of random that I'm managing. A lot of random, like a lot of it. Um, which is interesting to me as somebody who likes astrology. Scorpio tends to be random within reason. In my opinion, within reason. Like, for example, especially when Scorpios get older, it may be kind of all over the place. Their finances can be all over the place depending on the Scorpio, but they always seem to make sure they have what they need. Does that make sense? I don't even know if that made sense. So it's kind of like things may be random, bills may show up, opportunities may show up, but when the end of the day comes, Scorpio makes sure they had what they needed. It may have looked different this month than last month, vice versa, whatever, but you all make sure you have it under control. You make it work. And I keep getting like, there's a difference between you having control of it and going, all right, the rent money is going to be spent for this week, but I'll get it back next week this way and that way. I'll make it work because I know what I'm going to do and I have my own personal plan and I'll make it work. Versus somebody taking your money and then going, wait a minute, that was for rent. What just happened? All right, random moment. Now I have to find a way to make it happen. What am I going to do? You do still make it work, but it's kind of like, it's different when you decide to use the money for one thing versus somebody else takes it on you. Totally different feel. In this random, I'm getting like somebody's throwing curveballs at you. And you're doing your best with it to stabilize it, but there's so much random going on here. And I feel like I'm doing what I can, but it's almost like I'm having a hard time keeping up with the situation. You're Scorpio, you're very powerful, but even you are having issues with this situation. Kind of like trying to keep ahead of some of this is maddening. But you're doing it. You're doing it. A lot of random going on all over the place. Random. And again, typically Scorpio's not against random in a reasonable sense, like I just explained, but like when somebody's throwing random at you and leaving a mess for you to pick up, that's different. That is very different. So I do feel like whatever the situation is, the pressure is building. The pressure is building. Just keep it right there. The pressure is building. I feel like you are definitely coming to the end of your rope with the way things are going, and it's kind of like, okay, hold on. This isn't working for me the way this is going. I need to have more control, one way or another. I may not have legal control on paper, but I will be creating some new boundaries and setting things up so there will be more control in this situation. Am I getting that right? Other people may not like what I'm about to do, but I'm going to do it. I keep getting that too. It's kind of like I'm changing the rules of the game. Again, you may not be the person on paper that has control, but you have the ability to kind of change some factors here to where you take away the ability from some other people who keep causing issues. Does that make sense? I feel like it does. We're going to leave that there for right now. Because I'm going from the King of Pentacles into the Ace of Pentacles, kind of like there's certain things here that are not okay. Somebody used my rent money and they had their reasons for it. I get that, but we're going to change how this goes. It's almost like, for example, if you're in a group, I don't know why you would do this, but I've heard of people doing this before where like maybe 5 people have access to an account. As somebody who has worked in banking, that makes me very uncomfortable, but whatever. It's kind of like, you know what? How I'm going to change this is I'm going to set up a secondary account that only I have connection to. And once enough money is there for the rent, I'm going to move it over to that account until the rent gets paid. And that way people can't take the money. And maybe I'm not allowed to do that. I'll see if I can convince somebody else to do it. And then we'll just keep inching the money over till it's where it needs to get. So that way people don't have the ability to snag that money when they think they can. I'm setting up a new boundary for sure. I feel like all 3 water signs had something with new boundaries going on. I'm setting up a new boundary and I'm making it really, really difficult for other people to cause issues. And I'm making it really, really uncomfortable for them. There's a card pushing out of the deck. What is it? Six of Pentacles. All right, this is a new way of balancing things. It may be a process to where it's not just one moment, because the Ace of Pentacles is a growing situation, and this might be backing that up. Over time, I'm starting off with something big, but I'm building on it, and I'm advancing it, and I'm putting new boundaries, or I'm reinforcing boundaries, and I'm creating ways for for people to not be able to do things. You might even be creating new boundaries for yourself where it's hard for you to even get around these boundaries, but it's kind of like, well, if that's what I need to do, then that's what I need to do. Because there's one version of this where it's kind of like, I'm only going so far because I don't want to like strangle myself in the situation, which makes sense. But I'm getting like, this doesn't seem to be the most opportunistic way for you to handle it to really get this under control. The other version of this that you could do, which may seem counterintuitive, is to kind of like, you know what? I'm going to make really strict boundaries, but even I can't break these boundaries. Even if I want to change them, it would be very difficult for even me to change them. And if it's difficult for me to change them, it's going to be 10 times harder for some of these other people who want to change things. And I feel like if I do that version, I'm going to be surprised how comfortable I get with that, because I get a lot of safety and I get a lot of like stability that can't be messed with very easily, because I couldn't mess with it myself if I wanted to. And if I can't, it's going to be 10 times harder for these other people. Let's do that. And they can't complain as much. Well, they'll complain anyway. But they can complain all they want. But I'm like, hey, I got the same boundaries you have. So I don't know. If you think I have an advantage, I don't, because I have the same boundary you have. So that's how it's going. Happiness comes in with the Devil card. The Devil, I don't think, is a bad card. I see it as like boundaries. I see it as like being dedicated, holding to the line. This is also that card when somebody is a workaholic. They could be sick of bed on two chairs. Does that make sense? I don't think that's right. They could be like on death's doorstep sick, and they'll still show up to work. That could be this card too. This card has a lot of diversity in my opinion. But it's kind of like, I'll put myself through it. I'm holding myself to the standard I hold everybody else to, that type of thing, which ironically comes in with happiness. Like, this makes it so like, yeah, I'm under the gun too, but like I'm completely at peace with that. I'm not doing anything. I'm not loading that gun, so to speak. So other people may not like it, but they don't need to. There will be a moment of fallout with this. Yeah, people are going to really try to fight this. They're not going to like this. I don't think this is that bad for you. It is showing up as the Ten of Swords. It's not a fun card. It's not a fun card. But I get this, the Page of Swords with the Ten of Swords is like, I'm seeing people struggle with this. People are trying to keep going the way they have been going, and they're failing. They're going to have to fail for a while if these new boundaries are going to hold. If this new way of doing things is going to work, some people are going to have to fail, and it's going to be unfortunate, and it's going to be uncomfortable. But I feel like it's better for the situation overall. That's for you to decide also, not for nothing. This is what's going to give birth to a whole new beginning with this situation. This is where you're really going to get the stability you need. People are going to have to go through this situation and be very uncomfortable and very unhappy with it for a period. And they're only going to be unhappy as long as they're fighting the new boundaries. Once they accept the new way of doing things and they get in line with it, it's not going to be this bad. It's only going to be this bad as long as they're fighting it. After that, especially because if you put it yourself in there with everybody else, which I feel like you have the option to do that or not do that, especially if you put yourself in there with everybody else, it will come back together. It will start working better. People will like this better. People will like not having that random like, uh-oh, is today going to be okay day? You know what I mean? People are going to like knowing like, not only is it good for today, it's going to be good this week, it's going to be good this month, and probably the way it's going, probably for the whole season. It's kind of like we can see for a while out it's going to stay good because it can't change very easily. And then if we need to make edits, we can slowly do that. You're putting yourself in there with everybody else. If you do that, it just makes it better. It's more people feeling like you're on the same page as them. It does get a lot better. It gets to this point after people stop fighting the boundaries, it does go a lot better. But I'm getting, again, the Ten of Cups showing up. It's very much when they stop fighting the new boundaries, not until they do. Like, they have to fully accept the new boundaries before this can come in. That's why closure is with the Ten of Cups. We have to have closure before that Ten of Cups energy can come in. It's not like you have the ability to get them to stop as much as, like, they're just giving you the heads up. Just keep an eye on it and realize they're going to struggle until they've, made peace with it. Once they've made peace with it, it's going to be fine. All right. That's it. I'm going to shut this down here. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like a direct reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James the number 4, astral@gmail.com. If you're interested in the donation information that's below, same email. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day.